I wish this anime was around whenever I was in school, because to be honest, it would have probably helped me study a little bit more. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite harem anime ever, and I know what you're saying, guys. Don't click off the video just yet, because this isn't like your typical harem anime. This is actually a wholesome love story about one guy and 5 quintuplets. That's right, it's going to be a sixsome at the end of this. I sure hope not. Less than a minute in and I've already made it pervy. Wow. Either way, today we're talking about Quintessential Quintuplets, a story about a broke yet very smart student named Futaro and his journey throughout tutoring 5 very dumb sisters. And honestly, I like this show, but the story is not what really brings me in. It's mainly just the characters involved, because they go from to amazing really quick, and we get to see them evolve throughout 2 seasons, a movie, as well as the upcoming side stories from the manga. But real quick, let me give you a tip on how Futaro was able to bag 5 baddies in the span of this show. First things first, become a genius. Second thing second, have a dark, mysterious backstory. Third, become a tutor for 5 dumbass girls. And fourth, did I already do 4? I don't know. Be very aggressive, I guess. This guy's extremely aggressive, actually. I mean, look at this. Guy's all up on her. I don't think this guy thinks of women in a sexual way. Actually, that's exactly the case, guys. Futaro is like most main characters. He is extremely dense, but what I like about him is his backstory leads him to being dedicated in the studies, so women aren't really something that he wants to involve himself with, except for when it comes to tutoring, because he's going to get a major bag, because did I mention, these girls come from an extremely rich family. Well, step family. Their mom married a doctor who's extremely wealthy and gives them the money they need. But they haven't always been like that, so whenever you look at these characters, don't think of them as stuck-up brats, except for one of them. Golly, Nino is very stuck-up. Think of them as sweet girls who have the money, okay? But they're still very humble. Now, the show doesn't go without a hitch, I will say that. The first episode alone shows us the conflict between Futaro and these 5 quintuplets, and it even gets to the point where one of the characters drugs Futaro so they can get him out of the house, because they don't want to deal with a student their age tutoring them, because it's kind of sad. It is actually very sad. But their grades are even sadder. See, Itsuki, Miku, Nino, Yotsuba, and Ichika are all extremely dumb. However, they do have their smarts in certain classes within school, but none of them are the same, and Futaro needs to figure out exactly which one they are good at, so he can inevitably work with these girls instead of work against these girls. See, if they all help each other in building themselves up in their smarts, they will be able to succeed on their upcoming exams. Obviously, it's not as easy as it sounds though, because none of these girls really want to study outside of Yotsuba, Miku, and sometimes Ichika. And we'll get into them here in a second, because again, they are the most important part of this show. And Futaro, on the other hand, he is really just a base to kind of go off of. We can put ourselves in his shoes, except for it also gives him a little bit of character, because he is fighting for something, and he is extremely smart, and he's not just a dense brick on a wall that a bunch of girls just come to because they fell on them and touched them or something. Literally, I mean, it's a weird metaphor, guys, but it makes very much sense if you've watched any other harem anime made. I'm talking about Ladies vs. Butlers, High School DxD, High School of the Dead. There's a bunch of them that just have boring characters that get everything thrown at them, and although I'm not saying that Futaro is that different from these other characters, he's not that accidentally perverted guy that all other shows throw in our face. He is his own person, and he loves to study. And you know what? He does eventually warm up to these girls a little bit, but at the end of the day, he still sees himself as a teacher and a student, aka a partner. Now, throughout the studying sessions, Futaro doesn't think that he'd have to deal with all the bullcrap that these sisters will bring his way, but that's exactly what happens, and I get a kick out of it because he says it in the first episode, foreshadowing what is to come later on throughout the series. Now, before we get to the characters, I do want to say this show is absolutely delightful to watch, and I will say this: every single anime should have a designated ski resort episode. Similar to how there's a beach episode, there's a spa episode, all of that stuff. Where are the ski episodes at? We need more of them. Ski episodes stonk up. Now, moving on to the the characters, I'm gonna go at this a different way. I'm actually gonna talk about the Quints from least to most favorite. First, we have Yotsuba. Yotsuba is a very goofy type of character who always looks at the bright side. She's also very helpful and self-sacrificial, and at times even teases Futaro, throwing a little bit more depth to her character. I don't hate her, but she is not my favorite because there are just so many other great characters to look forward to. The next one of those girls is Ichika. Now, Ichika's really cool. She's also the biggest tease out of all of the other girls and has goals unlike any of the other girls in this show. And the main reason she doesn't study in the first place isn't because she doesn't want to. It's because she has to work, because she's an actress. So you gotta respect the grind, and Futaro respects it as well, because the man's the same way, just within studying. The thing about her is she gets a little crazier at the end, but it's totally fine because you gotta do anything for love. Because they all fall in love, and one of them needs to win, because I don't know if you're allowed to marry 5 different girls in Japan. If I were them and I were all in love, just move to Saudi Arabia. It works out. It works out there. Next, we have Miku. Now, I've seen a lot of people who love Miku, and I personally am one of them. She's extremely shy, but opens up to Futaro about her closeted otaku personality, and she's even the first to show signs of feelings and emotion to Futaro, and all the other girls can tell. But that's kind of the extent of that whole situation. Futaro doesn't really look at her like she's any different from the others, and this kind of pushes Miku away, but not enough to where she doesn't express her feelings to Futaro throughout the show. Moving on, we have bland main character girl Itsuki. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with having Itsuki as your favorite because she's a stereotypical motherly figure type of girl, but the sheer amount of colorful characters in this show just kind of overshadow her, and she never really has that moment where she's just with Futaro and she visually shows her love for him like the other girls do throughout the show. And finally, I have Nino. I absolutely love Nino. She is just a wonderful, ballsy character who goes as far as to drug Futaro, confess to him, ride bikes with him, cut her hair, everything. She does wonderful stuff, and her progression is absolutely the best. And don't get me started about her character design in the second season because it is 10 times better. Oh my gosh. So that's my top 5 list. Let me know down below what yours is and tell me why, because I want to know exactly what people see in some of these characters, because they're all so similar, but at the same time extremely different. Their personalities are all over the place, but the way that they feel about Futaro, as well as their school smarts, are exactly the same. Now, moving on to the art, in the first season, we get very subpar animation, I will say that. The art is okay, but in the second season, it really steps the game up. And it's mainly due to the fact that it changed from studio to studio. So now we get to see a different take on the girls, as well as the different styles that they will rock within the new season. And I gotta say, the animation was crisp, it was wonderful, and you know what? It didn't skip too many beats outside of that first season. So combining them, I will give it a 7.5 out of 10. That's right, I threw in the half just because it deserves a little bit more love for that amazing second season animation. Overall, the show is just extremely delightful to watch, and the inclusion of several school trip arcs really helps the show's pacing because it chugs along, and I finished the 2 seasons in no time. I grew attached to these characters and even grew to like Futaro, the main character, but the real selling point is these 5 girls and their connection as sisters. And along with that connection, there's also enough fan service for both sides to where you get to see these girls be cute, and you also get to see a beautiful romance within all of these characters, which leads me to having multiple waifus from this show, and that's always a great selling point. Both the seasons get a 7 in my opinion, but as one, I will give it an 8 because the show genuinely is a comfort show that sticks with you weeks after you're even done watching it. And I can't wait to watch the movie as well as the extra season to come because I genuinely never got bored of this show and was continuously wanting more. So do you guys agree? Do you disagree? Let me know down below, as well as what is your favorite waifu, and if you haven't watched the show, go and watch it right now. It is a very easy watch for 24 episodes. I will see you guys next time. Go watch some anime, and happy Easter. Peace!